Hello again, and welcome to Voice of the Unwoke. My name is Chris, and as you know, Voice of the Unwoke is a place where we talk about the things in society that are bothering us, the things in society that are making people mad. And I've noticed a great discussion recently on freedom of speech and whether or not we actually have freedom of speech, which a lot of people take it back to, and I personally do also, take it back to being a representative republic. See, in the news, a lot of people refer to our country as a democracy, and it was not set up as a democracy. It was set up actually as a representative republic, that we would elect people into office that would represent the thoughts and the mindset of the jurisdiction which they were set in to represent. And if you look at what the Heritage Foundation talks about, it says American republicanism and the ordered liberty it makes possible are grounded in the Federalist recognition that the non-majoritarian parts of the community make legitimate contributions to the community's welfare, that they preserve these contributions is a hallmark of political justice. So in other words, they're saying, the Federalists were saying, by us being a representative republic, they were saying that all parts make legitimate contributions and all voices should be heard. But the question is, are we really being represented? Are our voices really being heard? I mean, when we elect somebody to office, the idea is that they'll represent our wishes. And I guess my question to you is, do you feel like your wishes are being represented? And I look at just executive orders as a as one way that maybe our voices are just supposed to be heard, because in the last two administrations we had somewhere around 9 executive orders in the first week that the executive was in office. 9 executive orders in the first week. This administration that we now live under had 22 executive orders in its first week in office. And one of those had to do with this pipeline that's coming down from Canada into the United States to transport oil, which is, by all statistics, the safest way to transport the oil, because it's a lot more dangerous to put it on a bouncing train or on a bouncing truck going down our antiquated highways and antiquated railways. I mean, truly, they are. Some of them are very, very old. And putting that oil on it to transport it that way versus putting it in a brand new pipeline put together by expert welders that are getting paid $60 an hour to do this and put it together right. It's a little different. And in signing that order and stopping the pipeline's growth, 13,000 jobs, according to TC Energy Corporations, were lost. I mean, that's the immediate loss when we stopped work on this Keystone pipeline. Now, does that represent the welfare of the people that we elected this administration to serve? I mean, 13,000 jobs, plus the wives and children that they feed with this money, or the husbands that they feed with this money and children? Are they represented by this? The waiters and waitresses that they serve that serve these men and women in restaurants, and their children who are no longer serving them and no longer able to get the income that comes from that, the restaurants that are in business because of it, the grocery stores that sell groceries because of it, the meat markets that sell meat to the grocery because of it. You see, the peripheral part of it really turns into a large number of people, an innumerable number of people. The cars that aren't sold, an innumerable number of people are affected by the fact that in one executive decision, we said 13,000 people do not deserve to have this job. And the oil is going to come anyway, and it's going to come by tankers and trucks and trains, which are much, much more adverse to our environment than what this pipeline would have been, because it was built by experts. It was built by craftsmen that are paid a lot of money to do it and do it right. So we chose a more expensive, more dangerous way of attaining our oil that we're going to use anyway, and chose to eliminate 13,000 jobs and all the peripheral things that are paid for by the income of this job with one executive fiat. And there were 22 of these executive fiats in the first week versus 9 between the last two administrations. An executive order means that the administration chose to say that my opinion is more important than the opinion of the constituents that elected me to be in office. It says that they think their decision is superseding anything that you might have to say and your voice in the situation. And this administration did it 22 times. 22 executive orders that we have no say on. 22 executive orders that now we as a country have to abide by what's in them, because the administration dictated this by executive decision. Borders are now open more than they have been in the last 4 years, and they're open even to countries that in the recent past have posed a terroristic threat to our country. Threatens our nation's safety. We rejoined the Paris Climate Accord, which guarantees that we're going to pay higher prices at the pump. We're going to pay higher prices on our energy in our homes. Guaranteed. And even more executive orders talked about diversity and basically made gender within the federal government a thing of the past. And a boy can say, hey, I want to be a part of the women's soccer team because that's the gender identification that I've chosen. And that may represent your thought. That may represent you. One of these executive orders may represent you, but does it represent the people that elected our executive branch? Does it represent a republic that has said, hey, the executive branch needs to work along with Congress and Senate, and then if there's a decision that has to be made between any of those that we don't agree with, then it has to go through our court system? Does it represent a republic that said, hey, the opinion of the people matters, and they elect people to represent them and their thoughts and their opinions within the government? Now, if I lived in, say, a more liberal state than what I do right now, say I lived in New York City, just for example, and the constituents elected a more liberal person to be in office than what I would have chosen for myself. And the general public said, hey, we want this guy to represent us, then I would assume that my thoughts and my wishes would at this point be a little bit on the smaller burners on the stove. And they wouldn't be represented as much. But when we had millions upon millions of people that voted for a more conservative thought and for a representation of a country that we wanted to say that all men and women are created equals and their voices matter. Which one did we get? You know, I wouldn't mind if my Congress people came home and said, this is what we're going to vote on. This is what we're going to talk about in Congress, and this is what we're going to talk about in the Senate in the next couple of weeks. What do you guys think? And then they went back and represented the whole of the people and what their thoughts were. I wouldn't mind that at all, even if they went against what I believed. Because then at least I would feel like my voice was being heard. And in an executive order, I don't feel like it is for any administration. I just wonder what you think. Do you really feel like we have freedom of speech now? Do you really feel like we're in a representative republic and that you are being represented by this republic? Or are we being represented by people that are coming to our government with an agenda that may or may not have to do with what the general public wants? And because of that, people's jobs get lost and lives get changed forever. If you've got an opinion on this, please just hit down below. Hit me up with some comments. If you feel like I'm wrong, hit me up with a comment. If you want to be a part of this conversation, please hit the subscribe button that's down there and subscribe, because then when I come out with these new thoughts, you can be a part of the conversation. Because until we are able to speak what we feel like things need to be changed, then we'll never become a voice for the unwoke.